Hello, Little League coaches, and any other BBOL Discord users who are watching this for whatever reason. I'm Wooper, and inspired by coaches like CRK and Extra Fun, I've decided that I'm going to record my games this year and narrate them. Now, I'm not doing live commentary. I'm currently looking at a recording of my Week 1 game versus bdeaux. I have no idea if that's how you pronounce his name. Apologies to my opponent if I'm not getting the screen name quite right. But I'm looking at a recording here, and I'm giving my thoughts over top of it, because I don't think I have the mental bandwidth, quite honestly, to do live commentary. I don't know how those other guys do it. I was at home this week, so you can see me choosing Big City Stadium, making the call right now. Coming into this game, I was, honestly, I was kind of nervous, and part of that is because I've seen a little bit of chatter about, like, what coaches people expect to go to the World Series in the Little League, and my name has been floated. I honestly don't know that I'm that good yet, even though this is the Little League. I'm not sure I'm quite on that level. Now, by doing these sorts of recordings and narrating my thoughts, I might be, giving away a little bit of my strategy, but I don't think it matters too much. You got Jorge with the height on first base. I stacked the infield in this game because I figured bdeaux's team doesn't have a ton of power. So I put Sammy at shortstop rather than in right field. Sometimes I like to put Sammy over there in right, so we can relay the ball to Jorge on a ball that's been pushed rather than pulled, so to speak. Looks like the game's about to get started. bdeaux's just making some last-minute adjustments here. I got Fernando Diaz on the mound. He's a Lisa Crockett clone with 2 height instead of 4, and as a result, he is much worse. Still a pretty good pitcher, though. So I'm not going to speed the game up. You watching this on YouTube are free to go to 2 times speed whenever I am boring you or the game is boring you. But I'm just going to keep it, at 1x for my sanity. I remember this play. The game just ended. Thank you, Cheryl, for having a great arm there at shortstop, getting the ball to Wally. Thank you, Wally, for catching it, despite being 1 height shorter and having to suffer her cannon arm. Here I was quite happy to see that Wally auto-fielded the ball. I've been having some trouble recently with balls hit between, like grounders hit between first and second, with Jorge and Wally both going for it. Neither one of them actually taking the right course. Of course, here we've got Chico Papas, 95 power, 95 on power and contact? He's a major threat. I thought about walking him, but he's so fast, I decided to just pitch to him. And we got a little lucky here. Donald does make the catch. Thank you, Donald. And we get out of that inning 1-2-3, which I was very happy about because Chico is one of the scariest offensive players in the game, like a top 5 offensive threat, to be honest. Leading off with Wally, a 7-speed. Not the greatest stamina, but he's got more than my my 2-hole hitter. So being able to push him around the base paths is something I value. We've got Angela. I know the slow balls and the hooks are coming, but she does not have a perfect 100 stat in terms of stamina. I believe she has 83 base stamina, and then Cal Ripken Jr., who was on bdeaux's team, pushes her to 93, I think. I could be wrong. Maybe she's 93 base, and, she does get pushed up to 100. But as far as I'm aware, she does not have the max stamina. So that being the case, I'm going to take more pitches than usual because I want to tire her out. It'll be tough since she has high natural stamina and Cal is pushing it even higher. But I want to get her off the mound. What just happened with Wally there? I guess he grounded out to Chico at short. And you can see there were 2 perfectly good pitches came in on pitches 1 and 2. I let him go. That may have been outside the zone. I decided to go for it anyway. And we get a lucky bloop. Thankfully, Claudia, with her speed, is able to get there before the catcher can throw us out. So here we have Cheryl. This is the Sammy Sosa clone. Of course, I go straight for power. I'm looking to start this game off 2-0. And you'll see later in the game, my hands start to get a little itchy. Like, I start to get trigger happy. And I start going for balls that are outside the zone with Cheryl. Because when you draft Sammy Sosa, you're thinking, okay, well, I want at least 1 home run per game. Spoiler alert, that did not happen here. So I'll go ahead and take this pitch no matter what, I think. Never mind. Something odd happens here. It bounces off the wall and over. I would think that would be a home run, but for whatever reason, it's counted as a ground rule double. I can't complain, though. We have 2 men in scoring position. I should say 2 players in scoring position, 2 kids, with only 1 out. So I keep it on power here with Jorge, hoping to hit something deep to the outfield and then just run in with Claudia, who's a 7-speed. Could have done a line drive, but I wanted a high arcing hit. Actually, there's an early example of my antsiness. I really want to get this goose egg next to the word Pirates off the board. To be honest, running there was not the smartest decision. I did not know off the top of my head what his third baseman's arm strength was. I just decided to go for it, and then I was going to sprint as much as I needed to, despite Claudia's low stamina. Thankfully, the throw was, not in time. Now we've got Hillary up, so I've gotten to the 5th spot in the batting order. Hillary is a Jeff Bagwell clone, who I acquired shortly before the trade deadline ended. I've been reasonably happy with the pickup. There's another ball that may have been wide right. Not the greatest hit from Jeff/Hillary. And of course, bdeaux, has put a catcher there who's able to beat out a 5-speed. Which Jeff and Hillary, unfortunately, are. So now we've got Maya Woodruff. Maya is an 84 power, 88 contact hitter. And that's not something I can, recite from memory. I've got the stats up. So I was obviously not as big a threat as Chico, but I'm still a little intimidated by that stat, especially since the high contact means that if she sees a pitch she likes, she can really wail on it. In case you're, one of the newer coaches, this is embarrassing. Of course, plays like that are preventable. You just move your catcher out a little bit farther to the left, where the pitcher will not bump into them, and then bring them back in towards the middle to catch the ball after the pitcher has gone to home plate, because that's what the pitcher's doing there. They're not trying to catch the ball, they're trying to cover home plate. Before I interrupted myself there, I was going to say, if you are a Little League coach and this is your first season and you don't have too many games under your belt, I will be uploading every single one of my games with commentary like this. Of course, I'm not commenting with the intention of educating people or providing any sort of coaching or anything. So I'll be rambling like I am now, but perhaps you can get something out of it. That would be my hope. I'm not doing this just to, stroke my own ego or whatever. Usually, here's a piece of advice I suppose I can offer. I pitch almost exclusively to the bottom left and bottom right corners. And the reason for that is that if you throw pitches higher, your opponent is, the opposing batter is more likely to hit higher arcing hits. They might be, if they're swinging power, they're more likely to get a good power swing, something that goes to the outfield, possibly beyond. And as far as I know, if you are pitching low, especially to the corners, they're less likely to get those big successful power swings. So I am mixing up a few high pitches here. I don't want to become too predictable. I don't want to let bdeaux get a really good eye for my corner pitches on the lower ends. I'm mixing in the high stuff too. But you should, in general, when you're pitching, no matter whether you're doing, high corners, low corners, whatever, you should be aiming for the corners most of the time. We see bdeaux working the count here. Here comes a right hook. Didn't want to walk him. Made sure it was in the zone. Claudia gets in position. And she messes up. I decided to field that one manually. You'll see I clicked right on that little green shadow on the ground instead of clicking in Claudia's general vicinity or on a base, which would cause her to auto-field the ball. The reason for that is that I didn't want two fielders to obey the auto-fielding call at the same time. So I thought, well, I'll just control Claudia by herself. Thank you, Jorge, for that grab. Very poor eye on Jorge, but he's a 4-height, so his catch box is really big. I wanted to just catch with Claudia that time, but I suppose that I misplaced her, or maybe I just got unlucky. I don't know. So we do have the 1-0 lead, and this Artie is the 6-hole. Is that the right terminology? Like 6-hole, 5-hole in terms of batting order? Artie is in the 6th position, and I've been hitting pretty well with him in practice games and scrimmages. So I even debated hitting for power here. But line drive ended up being a good choice. Maya fielded that rather nicely. So I'm not unhappy with how Artie hit that ball, but Maya was well placed to field that. So that's okay. Now I've got Fernando up. Fernando is my pitcher. Do I swing at this? I can't remember. Okay, no, we're working the count. Fernando has good stamina as a pitcher and 6 speed. So, I in general, I wouldn't sprint too much with him on the base path, but I might, if I get a little dribbler, a little trickler, as Sunny Day calls it sometimes, then I might sprint. But I didn't here. I figured that his outfielder would probably have the arm to get into Cal, so I didn't bother sprinting there. Even if I had sprinted, I might not have made it. We're not even through 2 innings yet, and Angela already has 26 pitches on her. So I'm pretty happy with that. Probably shouldn't have swung right away. It was a pretty nice pitch, not too deep in the corner, a little higher, a little more in the strike zone. I figured I'll just go ahead and swing. But if my strategy is to wear out Angela, I probably could have let that one go. Might have been the right call to swing in the end. But you'll notice I'm fielding in and shallow against Vicky. I actually, thinking that because she doesn't have a strong bat, that I'll just pitch inside and get her to, send a little grounder towards my third baseman. I'll just throw her out real quick. However, you will see, I think, she does, right there, she does have, there's a little, it's not exactly pop to her bat, but she does have the ability to hit some, some nice line drives. So I'm not sure that I recommend bringing the outfield in against Vicky. And this isn't just something that happened in this game. I mean, I've seen it in multiple games. We cannot get to that. Jorge is, he's not Mikey Thomas speed, but his long legs don't take him very far. I think that might have been a ball there that bdeaux swung at. Worked out for him. He got a nice little bloop there. Cheryl could have dropped that, or it could have, fallen between short and third. So not a bad decision to swing at it, I suppose. This is low. Yeah. So Fernando does, when he gets tired, I mean, his left hook goes for days, but when he gets tired, his right hook becomes a lot less accurate. That was clearly outside the zone. You could tell based on the movement of the pitch. I think bdeaux probably learned right there not to swing at those. There you go, right there. What I did with Chucky, I didn't send him to go underneath the bulb right away. First, I sent him to the left so he would not collide with Fernando. Then with Fernando out of the way, I brought him back under the ball. That was kind of a response to my earlier goof up. Nice hit from Cal here. Donald does not make the grab, and unfortunately he falls. If he hadn't fallen, The throw to second might have been competitive, but as it is, Cal gets a stand-up double. And I really wanted to get Cal out here because now we've got Chico up. So I'm going to be very cautious about where I throw. You can see I'm aiming that right hook way outside the zone. And hoping that maybe it inches its way in. It's about time for me to use that more juice power up. I think maybe right here is where I use it. Oh, apparently not. I'm just gambling. And that's in the zone. So he gets a nice hit there. And it gets past Artie. That was a ball I easily could have manually fielded. Now Cheryl has a strong arm, so I'm thinking, oop, nope, we'll just spike it. Honestly, Cal probably would have been able to get home. I mean, even if Cheryl has a 98 arm, I think if you sprint with Cal there, you make it home. So it's all right. We are tied up 1-1. And to be honest, when he scored that run, this is where I started to... I was nervous from the start, but this is where I started to get a lot more nervous. Thank goodness this ball was foul. When I saw that it was right on the line, I was envisioning a ball that nearly goes foul the whole way down, but still makes it over the fence before, crossing the white line. Thankfully, it was foul, so I'm able to pitch a little carefully here. He swings at a kind of a junk pitch. Should be an easy out, but I completely mess it up. Jorge's got a very poor eye, so one thing I'll need to work on this season is fielding with Jorge, figuring out where the ball is going to go, not paying attention to the gigantic shadow cast on the ground. Thank goodness that Wally stayed on his 2 feet when he fielded that ball instead of diving. If he had dived for it, dove for it, then Wendy might have made it to first in time. The bases would have been loaded, and that could have been major trouble. So now I'm back up to bat. Swinging at the first pitch again. Not part of my game plan exactly. Here we go. This is nice though. Unfortunately, we fouled it off. Not sure if my timing was off or if that was just down to RNG. It's hard to tell with this game sometimes. That was a clear ball. Angela has 2 solid hooks. Her hooks are good enough that they have a lot of curve to them. So when I see a pitch that's kind of down it's a hook and it's down the middle against a pitcher like Angela, I know that it's going to hook outside the zone at the end. So now this is a bit of a tactic that new coaches may not be familiar with. They may not have implemented yet. When you click steal, without the intention to steal, if you click steal and then hit the ball with your with your batter, it gives the person who's stealing a little bit of a lead. This is a real nice rip. Takes a favorable bounce there to avoid going foul. So on that play, because I had clicked steal, I believe I did it again when he hit that liner. Because I clicked steal, Chucky got a little bit of a head start on the base path there. And the reason I kept clicking off, the reason I kept clicking off is because those pitches were balls, and I didn't want the runner to actually steal. As a junk pitch, I should have been, I easily should have been able to tell that was outside the zone. So I see here, as soon as the catch is made, we send Chucky. The throw a little bit delayed there from Wendy. Wendy being bdeaux's catcher. He could have gotten the throw out there if he'd clicked in time, I believe. So I do go for I have a man on third. So you saw me click power at first with Cheryl, again, the Sammy clone. And then I switched to line drive because a line drive hit in general is more reliable than power. Power, maybe you can hit it over the fence, but maybe, well, just as I say that, I switch back to power. Line drives in general are more reliable, though. Sometimes you swing for power and you just hit a little dribbling grounder, like a pathetic little pitch. So power gives you like higher velocity on the hit, but worse contact, I guess. There you go. Just a hit for power, stinky grounder. Of course, I could have also hit a home run. That was my hope, but I dreamed a little too big there. Jorge, though, 82 power. Not a bad contact stat either. Something like 60, high 50s. Nice pitch from bdeaux there. I'm thinking Jorge can get this RBI. Let's see how he does. I can't remember. I think I do score a run here. But maybe not. That is in. Beautiful. As soon as we see the flub, we send Wally. Easy. Don't need to sprint with him. He's a 7 speed. Or he can just chill on first. He's not fast enough to make it into scoring position. But we do have Hillary, who might be able to get him there. Now, Hillary, not the greatest power hitter, but I make the decision here to hit for power, hoping for, a bomb. Because I figure Jorge is slow on first base. Hillary is slow at the plate. And I don't think that I'm going to be able to bat them in with Artie and Fernando coming up. So I think to myself, okay, well, even if I hit a line drive and I advance both runners so I have men on first and second, I don't think they're scoring. That's why we're going line drive instead of power. No, I'm sorry, that's why I'm going power instead of line drive, just hoping for a bomb. This is a nice pitch. Unfortunately, we pulled it a little too far. Yeah, when the ball kind of scrapes the top of the screen like that, it's almost always a ball, except against, rough. My eye, not good enough. Did not spot that was in the corner. It's only players like Billie Jean Blackwood, Randy Johnson, Amanda Hellerman, who can still get strikes thrown against them, even when, the animation of the ball that's being pitched, scrapes the top of the screen. So if you ever see a ball that touches the top of the screen, unless you're a 5 height, unless you have a 5 height at bat, just let that go. We've got Dominic here. I can't remember what place in his batting order Dominic is. I believe the 6th. Yes, it is the 6th. Dominic, his 6th batter. Mediocre power and contact. You can see I click on a base there for the auto field. That just sends Cheryl to catch the ball on her own. We're going to continue pitching to the corners, as we have been all game. Alternating between left hook and right hook. Mixing in a little bit of a high hook here. Should be a ball. Yep. He doesn't swing at it. Good plate discipline. That is a ball. Well, that time he swung at a pitch that you could tell a little bit from the movement as well. If you want to rewind that, you can see how it moves a little awkwardly. In general, that's a sign that it's going to be low. This might be a strike. No, I think that would have been called a ball. But I don't blame him for swinging at that. That was a pretty nice pitch. It was pretty ambiguous. Down to the number 8 spot in the order. It is Angela Del Vecchio. Of course, she can hit for power. I could walk her and just get the guaranteed out when Vicky comes up, because Vicky is the 9th batter. But I'd rather just stop his batting order here, so that when he comes back up in the top of the 5th, I see Vicky rather than his leadoff man. We are pitching carefully to Angela. She does have that powerful bat. Mixing in a high hook. That one, see, I got a little lucky there. Sometimes that'll happen. It's a ball, I think. Yep. Now it's a full count. He's done a good job walking, but I don't move my pitch way inside. You can see I kept my pitch in the corner. I didn't move it into the middle of the zone. You don't want to do that against a hitter like Angela. And if I walk her, it's no big deal. Like I said, it's just Vicky who comes up afterward. For anybody who's listening, let me know, like, any feedback on this video, you know, how much I'm talking, what I'm talking about, if it's too much, whatever. Let me know. I think I'll rest my voice a bit here while we watch Artie swing at trash. Okay. Thankfully that falls and takes a little bounce. This is one of the bouncier fields out of the 10 potential home fields in the game. So we got a man on scoring position already. You see I go for the steal there. Now here I keep the steal on, and Artie gets a little bit of a speed boost there, or a little bit of a lead there. He went automatically. I didn't have to click on him to run. So I advanced him to third, even though Fernando got out. Nice pitch there. I judged that to be outside the zone. I was incorrect. That may have been high, to be honest. Now here, this is a pretty big mistake from my opponent, in my opinion. Maybe it was the right thing to do to get the guaranteed out there. Personally, I would have thrown home and tried to snipe Artie before he made it. But now I am in a position where I have 2 outs and Chucky is not likely to get on base, so perhaps the trade-off was worth it. I cannot tell you why I swung at that. Just a terrible hit, but it's okay. We did extend our lead to 4-1. Feeling pretty good, although after Vicky, the top of his order is coming up, so I am not out of the woods. Here's another... Okay. It looks like, based on the fact that I didn't shift my fielders using that little diamond in the upper left corner, looks like I have abandoned the choice to, you know, make them play shallow. Because Vicky does have, you know, she does have some line drive power in her. Pitch to the corners, same as usual. There's that line drive I was talking about. Cheryl just, you know, she's a 3 height. She has decent coordination, a 60, I think, and she just let that go through her glove. It happens. Not great to have a person on first, a kid on first, when the top of his order is coming up. So here I'm like, you know, starting to sweat a little bit. Because Chico Papas is not far away. Does Artie catch this? No. So we've got two bloops in a row. But bdeaux makes an interesting decision here. And just sends... I might have been able to throw it to Wally there with Hillary and get a double play. He makes the decision to send Timmy to second and trap Vicky on the base path. Maybe he values having... I don't know. He values not having a person on first, so I can't get a double play on him. Maybe that's the strat there. I do have that fireball, so I'm keeping that in my back pocket. I'm not going to use that until the 6th inning. kind of a sharply hit line drive from Cal, the same way he already hit one this game. I just throw a junk heater there, hoping that he would like get caught off guard and swing early. It was the first heat of the game. So here's Chico. I am scared to pitch to Chico. I do get a juice. Oh my goodness. You can see I click on a base so that Claudia will auto-field it. And she makes the catch. If she does not make the catch there, that is Chico going to second and whoever was on base, Timmy, going to third at minimum. Nice pitch. That one not so nice, but Vicky, an absolute stud in left field this game. That will not be her only great grab of this inning. She's got 100 coordination and 100 eye. So balls hit in her direction, you know, as long as she doesn't have to field them off the ground, where a stray bounce, you know, can mess things up for her. She's fantastic. Great at, you know, great infield fielder as well. Now I saw there, the reason I ran with Claudia is that I saw there was going to be a bounce before the ball got to Angela. So there were decent odds that she would not catch it. It would bounce away from her. And even if she did catch it, Angela's arm is terrible. Just awful. There's me reaching for another pitch with Cheryl. I was hoping that, who was that? Timmy on third base would not get to it in time. But he did. So I'm counting on Jorge for another RBI here. But yeah, Vicky, fabulous in the outfield, especially due to that 100 eye. I think this is the at-bat where you will see her come in clutch again. Yeah, here it is. Look at her go. Just goes right to where the ball is going to be. And actually, bdeaux, you could see she kind of turned around a little bit, so he made a manual adjustment and caught the ball. Fantastic fielding from my opponent. We just need to survive this inning, and we win the game. Top of the sixth. I shift to the right a little bit there, expecting, you know, perhaps a real strong line drive. See if I do it again here. No. Okay. And I'll be honest with you, that's just me getting lucky. The fact that that ball was hit straight to Artie and that he actually caught it. Because he do be dropping those sometimes. That's just a bit of luck on my part. We're going to pitch cautiously to Wendy. She's only got 70 power, but, you know, I'm trying to wrap up this game. Little left hook. And watch this. I click away right there. I had two fielders coming towards the ball. If you want to rewind that, if that's something you're not familiar with, you want to rewind that, watch it again. Two fielders start going for the ball. Once one of them reaches the appropriate position, I click the other one away so they don't collide. Thankfully, Jorge has enough speed to get this last out, and that is the ball game. 4-1. Well, you know, well played to my opponent. bdeaux is somebody who I scrimmaged a couple times, you know, before the season schedule came out. And we had some games, some not so good games. You know, this one was a lot more competitive, which we both appreciated. And here I'm just grabbing the stats. You can't see me taking the screenshots because I'm doing it through Windows rather than through ScumVM. But this is me taking the screenshots. Always take your screenshots after every game, whether you won or lost, because your opponent's game might freeze. Okay, that's it for me. I feel like I did a lot of talking. I might try to... I tend to do that. I'm a little wordy. Might try to limit the amount of commentary I do over future games. But if you thought this was a good amount, let me know in the comments. If you thought I just really need to dial it back, you don't be afraid to say that either. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in 2 weeks, since we have a long window to get this first game played. I will see you in 2 weeks for Game 2.